Hey everybody, it's Mace1370. Today we are going to do an RTA showcase for the new buffed Yufine. Before we get into it though, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, please see the video description below for a link to my Discord. So Yufine has received quite the buff in the most recent balance patch. I think it is, frankly, overtuned. They've completely reworked her kit, which, I think she did need something just because she's literally never used an RTA prior to this buff patch, so she needed something, but I think what they did is over the top. So we can quickly go over her skills here. Her skill 3 now gives her a CR boost if one of your heroes silences one of the enemy heroes. So you can bring a unit like Zeo, he silences something, and then it CR boosts 20% on Yufine. What's crazy is, because Zeo is an attack skill, and this is part of an attack itself, this doesn't trigger non-attack abilities like Politis, for example. So you can really safely CR boost up Yufine. In addition to that, when she hits a silenced unit, she defense pens them by 70%. And if she, when the target is silenced, she also resets the skill of, her S3. So if you, hit something that's silenced, you're going to do a crap ton of damage, one-shot virtually everything in the game, and then reset your cooldown so you can do it again. Her skill 2 here, also kind of crazy. So this can dispel one buff from all enemies, and then I have the EE here to increase the silence chance, so 100% chance to silence, and then also gives her attack buff. And then if you soul burn, which is easy to do because Zeo can hold book, you can basically get an extra turn with this ability. So it gives it to her for 2 turns, and then you just soul burn her skill 2 into skill 3. What's really crazy about this is Zeo can silence and push back a particular enemy, boost up Yufine, and then she can do this ability, which can pull units out of stealth. It can put silence on, a different kill target. And so oftentimes when you do this, you'll have a few different silence targets that you can then skill 3 into. And on top of that, there's a decent chance you've landed a few silences on the enemy, kind of, like AOL, for example. So I think completely insane. In terms of how you build her, I think 260 speed is pretty ideal in terms of the CR boost. When you're 260, you're not going to get cut. You could probably cut this down to 250 and be fine in the vast majority of your matches. Every so often you'll get cut though by a real speed demon or some weird speed RNG. And once you get to 260 speed, you essentially just build, hit crit chance and then as much damage as you can get. So this is pretty premium DPS gear on her. The alternative build I was thinking about doing was maybe lowering her damage a bit to give her more effectiveness. I don't know if that's really helpful or not. It is nice having a ton of damage to make sure you one-shot stuff, but I was running a super scuffed version of this just to kind of test, her out right when the patch hit to see how she did. And she had like 3,700 attack and like 250 crit damage, and she was still one-shotting everything. So I feel like you could probably get away with like dropping her damage and giving her effectiveness if you really wanted. And then, that would give you more sleep targets, right? If the enemy has ER and stuff. So something to think about. Her skill 3, her EE here, I've chosen, like I said, the one that gives you the silence chance. I think these other 2 EEs are for her skill 1, and I'd say in like 95% of matches you never skill 1 with her because they either concede when you one-shot the first thing, or she cycles back around and skill 3s again and then they concede. So I don't think the other 2 EEs are very useful. And lastly, her artifact, I think Merciless Glutton is best in slot. This is increasing her single target damage by a lot. And then in addition to that, this turns her into a bridge unit. So you can use Zeo or someone else to boost her up, and then she uses her skill 3, and if she kills something, then Merciless Glutton is going to CR boost the rest of your team, which is really crazy. So that's essentially Yufine in a nutshell. There's a lot of synergies that she has that you may not think about initially. For example, you can burn her 2 into her skill 3, and that's 2 crits, so that'll activate Commander Pavel. So something else to think about. Her best buddies are Zeo, because he can silence on his skill 3, and you can also build him with absurd effectiveness. So he's a good buddy to have. And then Wanderer's Silk, also nice. You can build her, with a decent amount of effectiveness, and she has silence on her skill 3. And then lastly, another good thing to pair would be AOL, who I'm still kind of pre-banning, but you can just build like a semi-fast AOL with a lot of effectiveness, guarantee those silences, and or have a good shot at getting the silences and then bridge into Yufine. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few matches. Okay, so just for my own convenience, I've still been pre-banning AOL. I'm just used to pre-banning her at this point. So It may not be perfectly optimal for this draft, but I'm just doing it, you know, for my own comfort, I guess, at the moment. I may switch it up, you know, in the near future. I think alternatives to AOL would be Sageball. You could ban him in addition to Bellion, and that would make, you know, this cleave a little easier. You could also pre-ban like an opener, maybe that's giving you trouble. Like if you don't have good gear on Lua or Sea Lilies or something like that, you could ban those. Bellion is, I think, a must ban for this because you really want books. So I'm first picking Spectre Tenebria here. It's just like hands down the most universal first pick in this meta. Very flexible. You can do literally anything with it, so there's no reason not to first pick Spectre. And the opponent responds, let's see, with Sea Lilius and Hand Guy. So I'm going to take Zeo and Yufine. And this cleave, to me, it feels very reminiscent to Ran Apoc, where you would often take, you know, these two together and then just respond to the rest of their draft with other picks, right? So if they pick too many anti-cleave tech units like Ball and stuff like that, then you can just respond with either units that hard counter Ball, like Ed, or you can, you know, take bruisers, you know, that Ball can't kill, things like that. You know, if the enemy really turtles down, then that's when you go into things like Flitica and Sea Pavel, because now you have Yufine and Flitica to activate Sea Pavel. You have, you know, Zeo and or Zeo to activate Yufine. You have Spectre for more souls. So that's, you know, a huge amount of damage at your disposal to go through a really tanky player who's not trying to interrupt your momentum at all. But this person is trying to interrupt, you know, momentum with Sage Ball. So I kind of have to decide what I want to take. Honestly, kind of not really sure. I think I just want to beat his last two and kind of ignore the first two, and then we can just ban last. So I think I just take Aras here. I think Aras is fine. There's maybe a better pick, like you could maybe take Lionheart. Sirmia would be an alternative pick to Aras. My thought was, you know, Ball can sleep Spectre on the first turn, and I don't really care about that too much. So we ban last no matter what. So kind of we have two scenarios here with this draft. He can either ban Zeo and give us the combo, and which he doesn't do. So we get the combo, and now we'll be able to boost Yufine ahead of Ball, and then we'll just kill Landy, and now he has no DPS and can't kill Stenny. So that was kind of, you know, the one potential scenario with his picks. Another scenario is he bans out the Yufine or the Zeo, right? Something to interrupt, you know, my cleave. And in that case, I now have Ed against, you know, Landy and Ball, which if he presses buttons and interacts with Ed in any way, then it's going to pop Landy out of stealth and we can just kill her. And I think you get to the same outcome either way. The Adventurer Ross was just to help Ed survive if it came down to that, and also to provide me with a little bit more damage. I could have taken, you know, like Destina or a Revive unit or something. That would have been like an acceptable alternative, I think, to Adventurer Ras. I liked Ras just because, you know, he could pop the Landy out of stealth with his S3. So here you can see we boosted up Yufine, and then we soul burn her skill 2. This pops Landy out of stealth, and now we just get to kill his only DPS. And let's check out that damage. So no mitigation, a casual 53,000 damage. So she's dead. He can skill 3 with Ball here, or skill 2 I mean, but it doesn't matter. He now has no way to reach the Spectre, and honestly he doesn't even have damage to kill Yufine. So at this point he's just kind of roping. This draft is kind of tricky to draft against. I think one of the more reliable ways I've seen people draft against it is using units like Aiden and General Purgus and then drafting stealth characters around them. So the only unit available for you to attack is either General Purgus or Aiden, and then that's a problem. But I think generally, you know, if you're looking at their draft and you're responding to it, like as long as you're not slamming Zeo Yufine on your pick 1-2, then you can usually avoid that because, you know, you can kind of look at their early, like their first couple picks, and if they're not taking, you know, pure stealth units, then you can maybe back off. If they do take stealth units in their early picks, then you probably don't take Yufine right away. Take something like Conquer Lilius with the Zeo.
Kiss my feet. I will step on you.
Alright, we stun Sea Lilies here just to stop, you know, whatever momentum he has. And at this point, it's, you know, really over. We can finish off the Sea Lilius. You know, then we'll kill hand guy and then just leave ball until last.
I
With
always keep
seeds.
my word.
Here we have second pick. The opponent has banned out Lua in addition to AOL. So there's a 99% chance they're going to take Spectre Tenebria. And oh, hey, look, it's a Spectre Tenebria. Okay, so kind of like I said early, so Spectre's a stealth unit. So we don't want to slam Yufine right here because that could lock us too much into that kind of aggro cleave draft. And then the opponent could take other stealth units, Aiden G-Perg, and then I think we just lose. So here instead we take Conqueror because she's a unit that can get those other units out of stealth, right? So if they take Guiding Light units like Faithless Litica or Leica, for example, Conqueror can use her skill 3 and break them out of stealth, and then we don't have to worry about it as much. Now Zio would still have that problem, but we don't have to commit to Yufine yet. Like we can just go into a more standard aggro draft depending on what he takes. Like if he takes all these stealth units, then we can respond differently. We don't have to take the Yufine. So he takes Yoha, so looks like he's tanking down, which means that we probably are going to be able to take the Yufine. Okay, interesting. Then he takes Moon Bunny Dominial. Haven't played against Moon Bunny for quite a while. So I guess we can take Yufine, because this will bridge with our Zio. And I feel like now I just want a safe DPS. Maybe this is the Flitica pick. I rebuilt my Flitica. I made her faster. And when I'm doing this draft, I think my Flitica is a little slower. I think I was afraid that Moon Bunny would outspeed me. Which I guess is not the worst because he doesn't really have a bridge in between. Maybe just Flitica was the pick and then we could end on Sea Pavel. A little harder to do that though when you don't have Spectre first pick because we have Conqueror instead. So we kind of need to take a DPS here. Still the Eufine's a little tricky just because she's so squishy. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure who I should take. I think we just take a Guiding Light DPS, so I take Viseria. Probably not a great pick, but I wasn't sure who else I could take. Let me think. Opsig I think would be okay, but I ungeared my Opsig when I was fribbling recently, so I couldn't take her. But Opsig could be okay. You could trigger the barriers from Moon Bunny, and then Opsig could, abuse that. Could take, potentially, Politis might be okay. Could discourage the Moon Bunny from pressing S3.
Shall I handle this?
Yeah, Politis feels a little weak, though.
Shall I test my theory?
So he takes Sage Ball and then Carrot. Okay. So other than the ball, we don't really have to worry about our momentum getting interrupted. We can, if we ban out Moon Bunny. So if we take an anti-ball unit, we can ban out the bunny. So I think it's either, I think Ed could be okay. I think Ed's fine. So is ML or Inferno Kawazu. I think they're both okay. I went with Inferno Kawazu because I wanted the ability to kill something even if ball doesn't press buttons. And we have Vigor from Conquer Lilius, so I think Inferno Kawazu's okay. Yeah, because Inferno Kawazu is activated by Ball and by Carrot, and we can give him Vigor with Sea Lilius, so he's a fairly safe pick here. He can do a lot of damage, right, with Vigor and the burns and stuff. So he could one-shot the Ball, he could one-shot the Carrot. It's a lot of damage. I guess Carrot might dispel one of the burns, but if we silence or get rid of that ability, with Zio Silence or with Conquer Lilius' skill 3 or something like that, then I think all the burns would land. Okay, so we can try to push back the ball here. Okay, so we get the pushback, but we get the silence resisted. So this is kind of the annoying part about this draft, is you can just get 15%ed. And if you get 15%ed, then your Yufine does not get boosted. But luckily we're, I think, kind of naturally outspeeding the rest of his team. And we push back the ball and we debuffed with Sea Lilius. Sea Lilius has like 150 effectiveness, yeah, and she provoked him, so we definitely got 15% there. It happens, but we got it with Sea Lilius, so I think it all works out. And kind of no reason not to just skill 3 here. Or I mean skill 2 with the soul burn, just more damage. We want to try to kill that Spectre if we can with Biceria. Okay, here we go into Yulha, get that nice kill. 47,000 damage, not bad.
I can still endure.
And now we can skill 3 with Biceria.
I will end everything.
Okay, and they can't revive, even though that wasn't an option. Alright, that's game.
Natural that I'd win.
Okay, so our opponent has pre-banned Aiden and ML Luluka. We'll first pick Spectre Tenebria because she's the first pick in the format. And we will see how Charu responds.
You have no value to me.
Okay, so he takes Lua and FCC. Lua's a little tricky because she can be on Guiding Light. So if we take Zio and Yufine, then we run the risk of not being able to get out, get the Lua out of Guiding Light, and then the Lua could cut in between us. I think it's still okay to take Yufine here. Yeah, we can, and then we can see what he does. Lua is definitely a little trickier to play into. I think alternatively to Yufine, we could take Conqueror Lilius. That would also be fine. But I think Yufine's a little more flexible here. Because if we take Conqueror, then we kind of open ourselves up to either getting speed raced, like if he takes Wander Silk or, an imprint of some sort, and then the Lua is a little scarier. It also lets him take things like Politis, which are really annoying to deal with. By taking Yufine here, we kind of avoid that. I think it's a little more flexible. And we have, a really juicy target with FCC that we can just, delete from the game right in the beginning of the match with Zio and Yufine. Alright, so he takes Landy and then Carrot. Carrot seems to be a fairly common pick against this comp. She's okay. She's nice because she'll cleanse away the silence, so she'll avoid that bonus damage, and then also being fire, Yufine can miss on her. So, I kind of see why people are taking her. She is annoying. I think we can take Conquer here. He has no debuffers. Or, I'm sorry, he has no cleansers, so he's weak to debuffers. So Conquer, I think, is good. And now it comes down to if we want to speed race the Lua with our Celilius. I think we potentially could do that. Honestly, the pick here is probably just Ida or something. Just take another DPS. I think it'd be hard for him to take another speed threat last with
I'm ready.
us having Zio, but I take the Wander Silk instead. Wander Silk can also activate Yufine, right? Because she has a silence on her skill 3, and it'll give us enough speed on the Conquer Lilius to ensure that we get that first turn. And if we take turn 1 with Celilius, assuming he bans out Zio or something, then I think that'll be pretty or if he bans out Yufine, I think it'll still be pretty difficult for him to deal with. It could be a little worrisome if he pre-bans Spectre and then all we have is Yufine. That could be a little annoying. But I think, with the amount of control, we could probably work around it. We could push back Carrot with Zio, we could attack down her. I think we'd probably have to provoke the Lua maybe. But I think we could maybe make it work. Because Zio can do damage too. It's part of what makes him so OP right now. Alright, so he bans out the Celilius. That's fine. So now we have Spectre and Yufine. So we're going to get the full Yufine Showcase here. because we are for sure taking turn 1, right? Oh, I guess I want to decide how I should put my imprints. I don't think Zio needs the speed, so we can just give it to Yufine and Spectre so they turn cycle a little more quickly. I guess I could have just given Silk or Self Imprint also. That would have also been an option. I think the speed is better though. Alright, so let's see. We can look at our speed tuning here, and even our Silk outspeeds the Luna. So this Luna is Omega Fake, but that's okay. We can push back the FCC, I think. I'm debating if I want to use this on Carrot. I need to test and see if Carrot cleanses the silence. Does Yufine still get pushed up? Probably not, because doesn't it say at the end of the turn? Yeah, so I think we have to go on FCC there. I was hoping we'd hit Carrot and get rid of her passive cleanse, but we don't. So we can just kill the FCC, and this will see our boost our team. Boom, 40,000 damage. Alright, so now we have Wander Silk. We could skill 2 to get an attack on Carrot, but I think it's better to skill 3. Push her back, get rid of her barrier, and then Spectre can just kill her. We can do the dual attack next turn, and I think the dual attack would go with Yufine anyways, because Yufine's higher attack than Spectre is, and there's a good chance we just miss, and that wouldn't really accomplish much, so I think the skill 3 from Silk is the better move. Now we can Soul Burn, and this one doesn't kill Carrot, but the next one definitely will. So Carrot's dead, this will push back the rest of the team. Alright, and as you can see, Yufine has her skill 3 again. Who even needs skill 1? Okay, that's a dead Landy. And that's game. Hope you guys enjoyed. Go build Yufine.
Praise me.